300, we are not letting you board this plane. So now you have become economist because you have been given a new way of thinking, right? So you, in your business, in your daily, course of actions, please do think at margin. It's gonna benefit you. So the fourth one is the people respond to incentive. People are very funny. So let's just talk about this. Tax on gasoline versus type of transportation. Ah, sorry, it's transportation. My mistake, not transpiration. It's transportation. My mistake. Okay, let me edit it right now. Then I will forget again. Transportation. So tax on gasoline versus type of transportation. So if you increase the tax on gasoline, people will shift from their private cars to public transportation, right? If you decrease the gasoline prices, people will shift from their private cars, from public transportation to private cars. Or if there is no public transport, then what happens? If government increases tax on gasoline, they drive less. They drive less. Sorry about my handwriting. Let me. But if they decrease, this is tax on gas increase. And now what if the government decreases the tax on gasoline? Then they drive more because people respond to incentive, right? Even if in other cases here, like in 1970, this is from your book, there were 65,000 black rhinos all over the world, but now their population decreased to only 4,000. What happened? Because of their horn, it is considered the most powerful aphrodisiac and fever reducer properties. So it is selling in the market for $30,000. So people killed for those incentives, right? So we have completed the first part in which how people interact with one another. Sorry, how people make the decision. And now we are starting the second set of principle, how people interact with one another. So we have fifth principle. So before going into that, let's have a 10 minutes break. Then we start from here. Okay, class, welcome back after the break. We talked about the 4 principles. And we talked about the first principle set, which is how people make decisions, right? And now we will talk about the set of decisions in which how people interact with one another. In this one, we have principle 5, which is trade can make everyone better off. Trade can make everyone better off. It means you don't need to think about one company. Think about on country level, right? It's a win-win situation. Trade will make everyone better off. Even if Japan and China, look at their political, war and all those stuff. Japanese people, they don't like Chinese. Chinese people, they don't like Japanese. But still, trade can make both of them better off. Huge tourism contribute to Japan from China. Japan installed its big factories over there in China, like Sony, Mitsubishi. I think Mitsubishi they wrap up. I think during Corona pandemic, but many things like Mitsubishi automobile, I think still in China. Sony is still, I think Sony is Korean, right? Oh, okay. Just think about that. If China, even if this other, industries, if China is growing vegetables and Japan is good in, we can say robotics. So if Japan needs vegetables, it can sell its robot in exchange for vegetables. So China should focus on its own expertise in agricultural sector, while Japan should focus on its energies on robotic sector, and whatever they need, they can just exchange, they can trade with one another, right? So people gain from their ability to trade with one another. So it doesn't mean that, like right now, what's going on, US trade war with China. China's stance is, if I stop producing these goods, then naturally the production will shift to the Philippines, to Bangladesh, India, the low cost labor countries. Then again, will the US have to fight with Philippines and then Bangladesh and then India, right? So it's not about the war, it's about your specialization. If you can produce at a little cost, at the lowest cost, produce that one which you are, which you have the specialty. If you have specialty in new concepts, new technologies, to develop the technologies, cash out the ideas and give production to us, and we produce it, you sell the ideas like that. So Apple phone, designed in California, made in China, but still the major revenue is reverted to the US company head office, right? So trade can make everybody better off. We have a question here. So do you think it is possible for one country to produce everything and be self-sufficient? We just talk about the concepts of
scarcity.
Yeah, exactly. I was about to write it here. The scarcity. Every country wants self-sufficiency, but do it have the capabilities? No. Why? Because self-sufficient itself has enormous wants and desires. I want to have a self-sufficient in space technologies, self-sufficient in marine, self-sufficient in air, technologies, in computer, in nanotechnologies, in the health sector, in everything. So desires are unlimited, but resources are limited. So do what you best can do. If you have a great mind, if your people have great minds to produce nanotechnologies, then just focus on nanotechnologies. If your people have great minds for agricultural products, they are producing more agricultural products, like Russia export, Russia and Ukraine export wheat all over the world. Oh, sorry about that. So they have enormous, edge on their food supply chain. So right now the wheat prices are rising because Russia and Ukraine war. right? So do what, do best what you can do best, and then trade that specialty. Understand? Clear?
Yes.
Good. So when people produce what they can best produce, so competition basically occurs. And what happens? Competition is always the result of trading. How Japan knows that, I am good at robotics? When it interacted with other world, when its products are greatly, appreciated by other countries, then they realize, okay, we have advantage, right? So trade give you competition, competition give you your advantage, your specialization, your specialty. So trade allows people and countries to specialize in what they do best, right? Now, sixth one is markets are usually a good way to organize economic activity. Now, let's talk about, first of all, there are two types of markets: centralized market and decentralized market. In centralized market, everything is decided by one top level authority. That's it. In a company, if company is centralized, everything is managed by head office. If government is centralized, everything is managed by the top of the top officials of the government. So when you keep the power to decide, we call this centralized. So similarly, in the markets, if everything is coming from the top, for example, the government announces that you can only sell the apple with 10 yuan per kg. So it means this is centralized market, which means government officials were in the best position to determine the allocation of resources, which kind of resources, always scarce resources, in a way to promote economic well-being, right? But in decentralized economies, which we also call as market economy, in which there is no interference from the government, no interference from the centralized authority. When you delegate the power, okay, how much is the price of apple? Let the apple producers and apple, buyers, let them decide, right? Government plays no, intervention in the market. So we call this market economy. So in which household decide what to buy and who to work for, firm decide who to hire and what to produce, in which there is no external pressure from the government that, okay, you need to hire 10,000 people, at least you need to hire 10,000 people, and you need to produce only wheat or only two things. You can produce whatever you are good at, right? So the free market contains many buyers and sellers of numerous goods and services.